Well, welcome everybody to another Your Story Matters conversation. Today we have Aliyah Hamad and she is a transformational life, mental, and emotional eating coach, specifically for the plus size woman. As a plus size woman herself, she has seen the narrative of eating less and moving being the only solution pushed on the plus size people. She realized that the needs of plus size women were being ignored due to weight bias. She's experienced this herself by going to doctors' offices. You see, plus size people need to be seen and heard and feel like they matter. They're human too, right? So she pivoted her niche to the plus size population. She coaches plus size women on releasing their past traumas, improving their life, finding their life purpose, eliminating toxic relationships, generational curses, self-esteem, confidence, and emotional eating by addressing the mind, body, and soul. Rhea speaks straight to my heart. Her coaching practice is called Curvaceous, Fit and Fabulous Health and Wellness. Her mission is to empower plus size women to be curvaceous, fit and fabulous, and to see their worth and beauty in this big, beautiful world of ours. Today, she's here to share her story of growing up in a dysfunctional and toxic household, how she attempted suicide 3 times and has found the strength to escape a toxic marriage as a single mom, and has now started off on her path of self-discovery and healing as she now puts that forward and brings it to other women so that they can find the freedom that she has found for her own self. I don't want to steal all of the story for you, but I'm going to get Aliyah, to share her beautiful story with us of all of the junk that she's been through and how she's come to this place of joy and vibrancy. You can just see her glowing and her smile goes from one side of the room to the other. It's stunning. And I'm so excited to just see and hear how she's been able to transform her journey to this place where she is today. So Missy, what do you got for us? Where are we going to start?
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Like, I'm actually speechless because that was perfect and just so beautiful. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So since you introduced me, let's just get right to it.
Yeah.
So let's do it. So let's start off with childhood. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my PowerPoint, so I don't just go all over the place. So I want to start off with my childhood. I want to start off explaining that I grew up in a polygamous family, and I actually grew up Muslim. So I grew up in Islam, or as I like to call it, Hislam, because it benefits men, and I am going to get to that later.
Oh.
So
that's quite a different take on that. That's interesting. I like how you did that.
So I grew up actually in a really strict Muslim family, like super, super strict. I couldn't go to prom. I actually did not date till I was like 25. And even when I dated, I don't know if Christians do the same thing, but the way Muslims date is like, it's supervised. Like, everything is supervised, and you can't really be alone with the person until you're married, but you can't really get to know them that way.
When your parents are breathing down your neck.
Yes, exactly. Or like a chaperone, or it's just weird, but that's how Muslims date. So my family was super dysfunctional. They were super toxic. My dad had multiple wives. So my dad actually had 4 wives, and of course, like, multiple affairs on my mom. So Islam, this is why I call it Hislam, is because in Islam, men can be polygamous. Men can have up to 4 wives. Women cannot do the same thing, which I don't think is fair. Also, with the Muslim man, he can marry non-Muslim women. So he can marry a Jewish lady, he can marry a Christian lady, whereas the Muslim woman cannot do that. She's only, her only option is the Muslim man, which, again, if these Muslim men are marrying these Muslim women, it's like, what does that leave her with? That doesn't really leave her with much.
Right.
And so it's very, very, it's just not fair. And
Mm.
there's other stuff too, but those were the two things that really had me questioning Islam from a very, very young age. So basically, my mom would cry a lot, and it's understandable because she loved my dad. She was so devoted to my dad. And my dad, of course, was having all these affairs, all these women, and it would make any woman cry if she really loves the man.
Mm.
And the thing with my mom is her love was conditional. So if I met her conditions, she would show a little bit of love. But of course, if I did not, if I just wanted to be my own person, she withdrew that love. So it was really difficult. And I felt like as a child, I constantly had to walk on eggshells. Like I couldn't really be my own person. I couldn't really question Islam. I couldn't really do anything like that. So it was really tough.
And are
Um,
you a lonely child?
I'm actually not, and I'm actually going to get to that in just a minute.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. And later, my mom admitted that she was jealous of me because the thing with my mom, and I think it's actually in the next, sorry, I'm referring to a PowerPoint, so I don't like,
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay.
yeah,
You're
okay.
doing great.
Yeah, so the thing with my mom is she's like, well, I'm really jealous of you. And I asked her, I'm like, why would you be jealous of me? Like, you're married, your husband's financially supporting you. And she's like, it's because you're brave and you have courage. She said that to me from a very young age. She's
Oh,
like, I can tell you never cared. And you do your own thing. And at a young age, I didn't understand what she meant. But now that I'm older, yeah, she's right. I kind of do my own thing. I don't care.
I love it.
Yes, thank you. So continuing with my dysfunctional family. So my family's Egyptian and they came to the US in the 70s. So I don't know what it is with Egyptians. They end up going to New Jersey. And I'm like, why go to New Jersey when it's freezing there and Egypt is like really hot? I never understood it, but yeah, that's where they all end up in Jersey. I'm like, okay, whatever. Later, they moved to Houston. So with my
Warmer.
mom, yeah, my mom had undiagnosed mental conditions. So it's really sad. It started off as bipolar and depression, and it was not like severe. The problem is with mental illness, if it goes undiagnosed and untreated for so long, unfortunately, it gets worse. So now she actually has schizophrenia.
Oh my.
And she refuses to acknowledge that she has an issue and she refuses to take medication. And that's the thing, if someone refuses to even admit that they have an issue, I mean, you can't do much. You just
Right.
can't.
You can let that good old saying is like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That was actually, I never heard that saying, but I like that. Um, let's see. So, Stacy, so you asked about my siblings. So let me tell you, we're four. So I'm the youngest one out of four. So it's 3 boys, 1 girl. And unfortunately with my siblings, my relationship with them wasn't much better because they were like, well, your parents are treating you much better because you're young and you're this and that. But they really did not treat me much better. Like I suffered, but maybe I suffered in a different way than them. And they didn't see it like that.
Right.
And unfortunately, up until this day, I don't talk to any of them. They refuse to talk to me. But, it's just one of those things where I just pray for them, I
Yeah.
just pray that maybe one day, I mean, whatever hurt they're experiencing, maybe we can get together and try to talk about it. I've tried several times and, it's just one of those things where sometimes if you love the person, you just have to leave them and just let them, do their own healing.
My older brother and I went 14 years without speaking a word to each other. And just through prayer, God's restored that relationship and has like turned his life around. And he's like, it's been really great to rebuild that relationship, but it was estranged for 14 years. Like we didn't probably even exist in each other's worlds.
Wow, that is so just one day, just like that, like he called you, or how did that happen?
Well, my stepdad had passed away,
Mhm.
and I have a younger sister and brother, which was their dad. And so both my heart and my older brother's heart wanted to go and support them because we also lost our mom when they were really young. we were all young, but they were 8 and 11,
Mm-hmm.
9 and 11 when mom passed. And so when that happened, we just like, when they lost their dad, we wanted to go and support them because we know what it's like to be orphaned. And so we went to support them. And then there was another stepson that was trying to take some of the properties that my stepdad had acquired that was supposed to go to my little sister and brother. And so me and my older brother, we had that same heart, was just like, no, it's supposed to go to Katrina and Jimmy, which is our siblings. And we made sure that they were taken care of through that process. And it just kind of like, because we had that same mission in place, that we were able to start breaking out some conversation. And I got to meet his wife, who is a gem. And so I stayed connected with her, and just being connected with her gave me some insights as to what was going on with him. So I knew more how to pray even, and which was good. And a couple of years ago, they had some serious marital problems because my brother had, when my mom passed away, he got into addictions and he went off into a really bad pit. And that was causing some serious conflict in their family dynamic. And so he had sent out a Mayday message, says, hey, I'm an addict. I have a problem and I need help. And he sent that message out to probably his whole contact list that was on his phone. And I happened to have been one of them. And sadly, I was the only one that responded. And so for months, I would be talking to him and encouraging him to get the support that he needed, and calling him out on all his junk because he kept on trying to tell me stories that I knew were fictional. And so, I'm like, oh, no. You don't know, you forget who you're talking to. So, but through that process, I was able just to show the love of God. And he was able to get the right support through AA, and he was since then has given his life to God and got baptized last year and has restored his family. And his wife is like, I don't even know who this man is anymore. He's completely different, and I love it. So it's so good. It's such a great story. But only time will tell, right? If you, like you said, if you keep praying for your brothers, God will reach him. He does not turn void. My question though, when you say about your brothers and the way you were raised and your dad's got 4 wives, like, did you all get together for Christmas? Like, I probably don't do Christmas, but did you all get together for family functions, like the 4 wives and, and all, like, that would be crazy, right? And do your brothers, and the other question is like, do your brothers have that same mentality as their dad, is where they think that they can live a life like that?
Okay. So to address the first question, it was kind of interesting. It's like they lived around us. So my dad got them like separate houses, but they lived around us and they would visit often. But yeah, we didn't have like functions or anything like that.
Auntie, or what'd you do? Like
I call them nothing. They were just the other women that were there. I mean, I ignored them most of the time.
And that must have been really hard on your mom. Like, no wonder she cried a lot, because I can't even imagine what that would be like, to have to fight for attention, or like, is he sleeping at your house every night, or is he's like taking turns every day of the week at different, like, that would just be so toxic.
Yeah, it was. And the thing is, like, not that I'm defending my dad. I don't defend polygamy. Like, I hate it, but in a weird way, I kind of understood why he did it. So here's the thing with my mom, other than the mental illness. So in Egypt and like the Middle East and Africa, they have this like really stupid practice called female genital mutilation. Have you heard of it?
Sounds horrific.
Yeah, it's horrific beyond belief. They basically get the woman and like cut her clit off, because that's where we get the feelings of arousal. And yes, so my mom got that at a very young age. So she was only 12 when she got that. And then when she married my dad, she was only 14 or 15. She was a baby.
Oh my word.
I know, she was a baby. And it was an arranged marriage. Like back then, that's what they did. They got married young. They got the arranged marriage, plus her being cut down there.
Why would they do that?
Very stupid practice, because the honor supposedly is in the woman, and the woman can't be promiscuous and sleep around and have boyfriends. So that's what they do. It's terrible. It's
That
terrible.
is so not good, honey.
Yeah, it's terrible. And so, of course, that affected their, like, relationship and,
Yeah.
that part of their life. And my dad wasn't satisfied. And of course, it hurt for her because she was young.
Right.
And so, like I said, in a way, I'm not defending him at all. I can see why, like, he kind of looked outside, but again, I'm not defending him. He should not have done that. I believe he should have. I even told him this too, because I actually live with him right now, that he should have worked harder or just left sooner, honestly, instead of having affairs, because that hurts. No matter how bad she was, it's like, just leave, and then do what you want.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's what I believe. So yeah.
Yeah, it's harder to put somebody through all that torment if you don't got that synergy, right? So yeah. Oh, that's so hard. I can't even imagine that they do that. That's just like I I can't even. I have no words. Like I can't even.
It's terrible. And I think right now, thankfully in Egypt, I think they're passing laws, and like in the Middle East, they're passing laws against that. So, and against child marriage. So there's hope, Stacey. There's
There is
hope.
hope. Yes. Keep fighting, ladies. Keep fighting.
Yes. Just keep praying to God, because we need prayer. We all need
Yes.
prayer.
Amen.
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 And
Oh,
then your second question was about so I have one brother and two sisters. So it was about my
oh,
brother, right?
okay. I thought for some reason I totally got my wires crossed. My bad. Sorry.
It's okay.
So does your brother,
My brother
your
is the
sister?
opposite.
Yeah.
Complete opposite. So with him, I think the polygamy affected all of us differently. So for me, it made me into a massive commitment phobe. Like, I cannot stay in a relationship. Well, at the time, could not stay in a relationship more than like a year and a half. Like, I would look for any excuse to get out. My two sisters ended up being really controlling. In fact, one of my sisters is actually a Christian now. She converted to Christianity and she's happy, and I'm happy for her. And then my brother is like a complete atheist, and I think he's a commitment phobe in a different way. Like, he refuses to get married, refuses to have children. So he is the complete opposite of all of us.
Okay. Wow.
But I'm happy for my sister. I think out of everybody, my sister, the one who converted to Christianity, is like the most successful. She's been married for over 20 years.
Wow.
She's got like two really awesome kids, and she's really happy with her husband, and she's happy being a Christian. And I'm so happy for her, even though I don't talk to her. I hear about her every so often, and I'm happy for her,
Well, then, maybe that olive branch could start with your sister,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You're right.
Because she might have an open heart to receive you back into her life.
You're right. You never know.
Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways. You just never know.
Oh, he does. He does. And you never see it when you're in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you can look back, you're like, oh yeah, there he was. Oh yeah, there he was again.
That's true.
Yeah, but when we're in it, we think we're in it all by ourselves, and that we're left out there to dry, right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I love that. Like, he does work in ways, but you never realize it till after out of the experience, or you're on the other side. You're right.
Yeah.
I love that.
When you're in the middle of the storm, all you see is the storm, right? Yeah, so true. So true. Yeah. So after, I guess, like, you came to Jersey, and you said you're living with your dad now, right?
I do. I live with my dad right now. Yeah, we get along, and I mean, he's not as polygamous as he once was, because he's almost 80. I think like he finally slowed down.
I'm waiting for my husband to slow down.
He's slowed down a little bit, but I mean, he realizes, my dad, because we didn't talk for a really long time. At one point, my mom and dad got divorced. We didn't talk for, man, almost 20 years, my dad and I.
Oh my.
And he had called me one day. I don't know how he found my number. And he's like, hey, I want to have dinner with you and your son. And I was like, okay. And he just apologized. He's like, look, I know what I did was wrong. I shouldn't, have been polygamous. I shouldn't have, I don't want to use that word because that is a bad word. Slept around. Let me just leave it like that. Slept around. I shouldn't have done all that. And he's like, I see how my behavior impacted the whole family. And he's like, I was immature. He's like, I was stupid. I just didn't know. And I'm like, Dad,
Wow.
it's okay. We all make
Acknowledging it though,
mistakes.
that what a humbling experience
Yeah.
that would have been for your dad.
Yeah.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah. So, he did. He apologized to all of us. My siblings still don't forgive him, but I chose to forgive him. Plus, at the time, he was going through some health issues. Like, I was living alone in my own place with my son. And I was like, you know what? Let me move in with him. Because he needs help going to doctors. He needs help. Like, he was getting surgeries.
Aw,
He needs help, like, with me being a caregiver. So, yeah, my son and I moved back with him. And, we helped him.
that's
He's a
precious.
good guy. I mean, you know what? We all have our issues. But at the end of the day, if someone asks for forgiveness, I mean, God forgives. Why can't I forgive? Right?
Right. And
Yeah.
he actually says, forgive and you shall be forgiven. If we don't forgive, we're stuck. We're just stuck in the mud, because like I've had to forgive some pretty crazy things, and I've had to ask for forgiveness for some pretty crazy things. But it's all character building, and it helps us grow and become stronger, and it heals the relationships, whether or not, like, even, I know we're going to get into it, but you were in a toxic relationship yourself, and just forgiving that individual. I'm not sure if you've been there yet, but forgiving him releases you from anything that he would have held you captive in. And it allows you, and I would say just by your demeanor that you have let it go, because you're joyous and full of life. So usually when we're hanging on to stuff, it weighs us down,
Mhm.
and we get paralyzed in it.
You're right. You're right. I love that. I have nothing to add to that. I love that. You're right.
Aw. It's a powerful gift that we can give to ourselves.
Mhm.
And I know that, I have my stepdad, like he used to visit me in the middle of the night, and he had a porn addiction, and he was abused my mom, and he was very toxic, and gaslighting and manipulative, and the mental stuff, right? And there was a lot of that growing up. And I got super angry with him. And when I first got saved and gave my life to the Lord, he started working on my heart, making me do some tough stuff. And one of the things that he was prepping me for was to go and ask or go and have a conversation with my stepdad. And I had all these ideas. I'm like, you did this, you did that, you messed up my life, you da da da, right? I was going to go with the blame game. And God's like, you're not ready. Okay, I guess I'm not ready. It was months of preparation of him just working on my heart. And then the one day he's like, today's your day. You're going to go and have that conversation. And I said, okay, God, like I'll go, but please just tell me what I'm going to go about, talk to him about. And he says, you're going to go and ask for forgiveness. I'm like, say what? What did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm the victim, right? And he's like, no, Stacey, you have bitterness in your heart, and you need to be forgiven for that. And I'm like, oh, snapdragons. I do. I was bitter, and it was oozing out into every relationship around me. I wasn't a very, like, even though I had asked Christ into my heart, I still wasn't a very good person. So I'm still navigating that. And so it takes time. Thank God he doesn't just like turn you inside out, but everybody would have ran for the hills if they would have seen my insides, I tell you. But when I did go though, and I asked for forgiveness, God did something in his heart, and I never ever expected anything to come back from him. Like I never expected him to apologize. I went with a humbled heart, asking for him to release me from my bitterness. And he literally turned into a snot-nosed crying mess in public and started apologizing to me profusely, to me, and how much he loved my mom and how bad he felt and that he could have done better for her. And it was such a shift in our relationship. He was still an alcoholic and still like toxic and vile, but so I couldn't be in his life on a regular basis because of the alcoholism. But it did something in my heart. So when he did get sick, I was able to go and help take care of him. And and be there for him. So God just knows. He knows, and he knows, and he knows, and he knows exactly what to do, when to do it. So I don't even question anymore.
It's amazing. It's really amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's not an easy task, right? And when your dad comes, that's such a humbling experience for him to recognize the pain that he's caused and be able to take ownership. Like, props to your dad, because that takes balls. Like, let's just lay it out there. Right? So good on your dad for doing that.
And good for you for, letting go of that bitterness, because I feel like that's like a lifelong thing. And I feel like sometimes it's kind of up and down. Like, that's what I feel like.
It can be. For a while, it has to be almost like a daily decision until it becomes like, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm good. Right? Usually when it still stings, or you still have that scab that gets peeled off every once in a while, like, family has a really great way of pulling those scabs off. It can sting, but if it doesn't pierce you like it did before, then you've found another level of healing, and you just keep grinding that process out until you get to that place where you're just like, I can share my story. It doesn't hurt me anymore. Like, some of the things that I end up having memories of, and I share them with my husband, he'll just look at me like, you went through that? I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, he's like, and he's mortified, and I'm just like, it just comes out of me, like, because it doesn't hurt me anymore. I don't live in that space anymore, and I am not that person anymore. And so that's the joy of healing. It's just being able to claim it, learn from it, and just forgive it and let it go. Like, we'll never forget it. And that's what a lot of people get, that misconception that forgiveness is like forgetting, and it's not. We're never going to forget the things that we've endured, but we can let it go and forgive, and be released from the bondage that it's held us captive in. So that's
You're right. You're right. Yeah, no, forgiveness, it takes time, but yeah, once you get there, oh my goodness, I just feel like your life and your health and everything changes for the better.
Yeah, your wings come out of your back. You're
Yes.
Yeah, so good. So after you moved to Jersey, and like, did the whole family come? Like, your brother and sisters came this way as well?
Yeah, we all ended up in Houston.
Okay.
I don't remember Jersey because I was a baby when I was there, and I
Oh.
was a baby when I came to Houston, so I don't remember Jersey, but they all were in Jersey at one point. But we all came to Houston.
Okay.
I think in the 80s, probably in the late 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. They were in Jersey for a while. I'm like, I don't know how Egyptians stayed in the cold for so long, but they did.
Well, they were just like, we got this. We got this.
Until one day they
No,
didn't.
we don't. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, so when you moved out, like, how old were you when you moved out?
So that's where like my marriage comes in. That's where the marriage comes in. So so it was a time in my life where after I had graduated college, I think it was 2008, and the economy had just crashed. I don't know if y'all remember.
Yeah, I felt that crash.
Oh yeah.
08 ruined my health. Like, it took, 08 had me on the floor. So yeah, go ahead. I remember.
Yes. So the economy had just crashed, and I had graduated college, and I remember looking for jobs. I was looking for the longest time for jobs because I was just ready to get out of the house. Like, I was working part-time, but that's not enough to move. Like, you need a full-time job or a business, or which I wasn't even thinking business at the time. I was looking for jobs. And one day, I don't know, this guy came to my dad, like, asking, he saw me somewhere, and he was like, well, I'm interested in marrying your daughter. And that was my ex-husband. And this is where, like, you'd never want to be desperate to do anything, because when you're so desperate to do something, like, it always ends up really bad. I was so desperate, y'all, to get out of the house. I was desperate beyond belief because I wanted to get out of this dysfunction. And so I said yes, even though there was so many red flags. I was like, yes, I'm going to marry this guy because I want to get, part of my language, I want to get the hell out of here.
Right. Got to dodge, baby.
Yes. Well, y'all, here's the thing about not working on yourself. If you do not work on yourself internally and you're basically like no confidence, no self-esteem, you hate yourself, well, guess what? You're going to attract that same person. It's a
Mm,
mirror. You're going to attract the same person. I think
yeah.
maybe the Bible says something like that. I don't know, but
Well, it talks about being unequally yoked on that fashion, but I'm I totally believe that if we don't love ourselves, then we're telling other people not to love us too. Like I just had a
Mhm.
conversation with a coach earlier today, and she gave me the perspectives, like, you know how you say, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? We always got to fill our cup first.
Mhm.
And she says, just think about it. If we do pour from an empty cup, but what are we pouring? We're pouring all of our dysfunction, all our brokenness, and we're spewing it out on people. And that's how we're um calling people into our, allowing people to come into our lives and treat us in that way, in that fashion. Because if we don't respect and value ourselves, then why would we, how are we telling anybody else to?
Exactly. Actually, I like that. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Exactly. So yeah, that's what happened with me is I literally attracted someone who was just like me, as broken and dysfunctional and insecure as me. And from day one, we had issues in the marriage. Like we had just massive, massive issues. And he was super insecure and he would constantly compare me to his exes. So here's the thing, Stacy. His exes looked a lot like you. The pretty, like Caucasian, the
Oh,
blonde hair, like the blue eyes is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But that's not me.
you are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. But you know, like everyone has a type. And
Mhm.
that's fine. If that's his type, cool. But it's like, why'd you marry me? Like I'm the exact opposite. I have brown hair, curly, I have brown eyes, I'm tanned. Like it doesn't make
And then
sense to
I like
me.
that tan skin. I'm jealous.
Thank you. Thank you. See, I love your look. It's so funny.
Aw.
I think you're so beautiful. Like I love the straight hair. I love like the fair skin. I love the eyes. Like I look at you and I just see beauty. Like
Aw, bless
so
your
much
heart.
beauty. Like seriously.
It's funny
And
that usually girls with straight hair want the curly hair and vice versa. We just
exactly.
we want what we don't know, right? Like, and we had that conversation, like, yeah, it's not fun to brush my hair. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, so you know, like the thing with my ex was like, he wanted me to like bleach my skin and like dye my hair, and I'm like, dude, do you
Right.
know how like weird I would look with bleached skin and dyed blonde hair and like blue contacts? I would look weird. It just would not look right on me because I don't have the
No.
complexion for it. It's
God
beautiful,
don't
don't get me
make
wrong.
junk. He made you perfectly beautiful just the way you are. Yeah.
Oh, my heart.
Oh,
So, you know, and all his exes basically look like you, like the beautiful, just beautiful, like, you know, Caucasian like look. And I was just like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, he even installed a tracking device on my phone at one point.
oh my.
Like he did because he thought I was cheating on him. And I'm like, dude. And I knew the tracking device was there and I just never deleted it because I was just like, dude, I don't care because I have nothing to hide. Like I knew who I
Right.
was, I knew what I was doing. And you know, when my son came in, his name is Yusuf, which is Joseph in English. Like, just things just got worse because he didn't want kids. We both actually didn't at the time. And the kids, you know, my son came and hey, we have to adjust and make the best out of it and be the
Mhm.
best parents possible. And I had postpartum depression and just with all the issues, I mean, I ended up just leaving because I couldn't do it anymore. And with the suicide attempts too, while I was in the marriage, he wanted to like institutionalize me and it was just crazy. It was very, very crazy. And I had left the marriage, what, about 15 months later. And as a single mom, I was still unemployed and still had the postpartum depression, but I made it. I don't know how I made it, but I made it.
Mhm.
That had to be God because I don't know how I made that year, but I
Right.
did.
You did.
Yeah.
So you had 3 attempts of suicide. Like that's heavy. Very, very heavy. So like obviously like having the tracking device and this controlling husband wanting to transform you into something that you're not. And like, was it a lot of those things that was just like, well, if I'm just not good enough for him, then I just don't need to be here? Is that where your thought process was? Or
It was that, definitely. And it was the fact that he fat shamed me a lot in the marriage, and he would try to put me on all these diets to try to lose weight. And he was yeah, he fat shamed me, he did all that, he would compare me to women, and it just, I wasn't happy with him. And plus the postpartum depression had made things a lot worse. He was extremely insecure, just not confident in himself at all. And this was another point, is like, I was questioning Islam, and during that time, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be that Muslim wife. That's just not who I am. And so I had told him, I'm like, I'm not a Muslim anymore. Then he's like, yeah, we can't continue this marriage. So it was just a combination of things. Because
right.
the thing with the Muslim man, even though he can marry non-Muslim woman, it has to be like a practicing Jew or Christian. And at the time, I just didn't know what I was. I just knew I wasn't a Muslim anymore. So yeah, that also led to the divorce as well.
Right. Well, obviously it's not a bad thing. Yeah, right. You don't have to be suppressed anymore, or being taken advantage of and restricted, and to be who you were created to be. So it's not a bad thing that you got to be able to break free from that. And stepping out, that must have been scary, just a little, right? Like, did you have a job, or like, where were you? No. Yeah, so what did you do? What was your steps? Like, for anybody that's in a situation where they're in a toxic relationship that's got children on their hip, what would you say to that woman of empowering them to step out?
Don't be crazy like me, because I just left. I was like, screw this, I'm leaving, I don't care. And I had a savings, but it wasn't much. And I had lived in my car for a little bit. So don't be like me.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, if you do want to leave, I would suggest for the woman to make sure she has a job, make sure she has income, make sure she has a savings, to make sure she's financially in the right place to leave. Because if you're like me and you're just like, I'm leaving, it's really, really, really tough. So that's what I would suggest to women, is just financially make sure you're in a good place, and just start doing it step by step, and leave, especially if you have kids.
Yeah.
And make sure you have a support system too. That was my mistake too, is I did not have a support system. It was just me, and with the postpartum depression and limited income, it was really, really difficult. So for any woman out there, and it doesn't have to be family, it could be like, friends, it could be anybody, just have a support system.
Yeah.
Build that up. If you don't have it right now, just start building up your support system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pausing because my son has been calling me like nonstop. So just give me 1 second. I will cut this part out of our video.
No problem.
Give me 1 second.
No problem.
His pants must be on fire. Okay, sorry about that, love.
No problem.
My son, his team is going to another province today, to go play hockey. And so he's he has no money in his bank account. See, that's the only time I ever really hear from him. So he's like, we're leaving Walmart in 15 minutes. Like he was literally calling me, and I even tried to like call dad, and and he just kept calling me, and I'm like, oh, this is not gonna go. This isn't fun. Okay, so
He's okay now.
Oh yeah, I transferred some money. Just leave me alone. Here's some money. Just to okay, where were we? Just so I can pick up where we.
I was giving advice to women who want to leave a toxic relationship. I already give the advice about being financially secure and having a support system.
Yes.
Yeah, and just doing it little by little. Don't do it at once. Don't be like me.
Yes, absolutely not. Support systems, super crucial. Having some money socked away. I know that can sometimes be challenging because some men are very controlling when it comes to the monies, and they will make sure that your check gets deposited into their account and all those kinds of things. But if there is a way to somehow, with your support system, to see if there's a way that you can get some financial support, that especially because some men out there are very controlling when it comes to finances. I've been in relationships like that where you couldn't even take a toonie out of their change jar, otherwise you get reprimanded, right? So and they know when you take that toonie. So it's like yeah, just support systems and making sure that you don't just like, and right now I talked to another woman that was coming out of a domestic violence situation. It's not super like promoted out there, but there is a lot of support for women that are getting out of domestic violence situations or unhealthy situations. And so definitely reach out to see what kind of resources are in your area so that you can get plugged in. There's lots of amazing housing even, so that it's all locked up in security. Like my sister ended up in one like that when she was leaving a domestic violence situation with her 3 boys. And so she came into, you'd have to walk in, they'd have to let you in the first door, then you'd have to sign in, give your ID before they let you into the second door. So, and there's no balconies, it's an apartment building, so like the guy'd have to be Spider-Man to get to your window. And so it just makes that security feeling a little bit more available for the woman as she's walking through the healing process, because that's when you're scared and you're trying to find yourself at the same time. It's a long journey. So if you can find some security or some safety, if you're getting out of a situation like that, to then start filling your cup. Right?
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. No, that's wonderful, because see, I didn't know that. I didn't know all that. So
you needed a support system.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I see my mom go through tons of abuse growing up, tons, like guns in her mouth, like raped. I've seen my mom go through a lot, and thankfully the Lord really spared me from a lot of harm in those situations. And then I just refuse to ever let a man raise their hand to me. You raise your hand to me, that's it, game over. That is a deal breaker. That, porn, cheating on me, I got lots of deal breakers. So my husband gotta like be good on his best behavior. But it's because of the way I was brought up, and that's the thing, right? Like there's certain things that we just wouldn't tolerate. Like I'm sure you wouldn't tolerate your husband, your future husband, having a female friend, right? Because it would trigger stuff. So I'm just throwing words in your mouth now, so I'm gonna like give it back to you.
Oh, I love what you said about that, and I wanted to add about the suicide. Like if anyone is feeling suicidal or depressed, don't be like me. Get some help. There's help out there. There's people that you can talk to. I think there's the suicide. I don't know if it's in Canada, but there's like the suicide hotline here.
There is, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, reach out to them. There's no shame in reaching out to somebody. I know that it's a huge stigma and people just want to keep that to themselves. So no, like reach out to somebody.
Yeah, because
your life is valuable.
Absolutely. And when we start entertaining those thoughts in the secrecy of our thoughts, and we don't voice them, they escalate. And the next thing you know, you have your steps laid out and you're walking them out. Walking, my mom did the same thing. My mom did take her life. Her first attempt was when I was 15. And you could tell, like, you just get stuck in your head, right? And you'll have all your, like, okay, I'll do this and this and this, and life will be easy. It'll be over. No one will have to worry about me anymore. You have all these silly things running through your head, but that's not true, because the ripple effects of the ones that you leave behind is catastrophic. And when you're in that dark pit, you're not thinking about, you don't think that anybody cares. And there's somebody, there's always somebody that will care enough, and it can be a complete stranger, my friend, right? So they can come alongside you and just show you some compassion and love and a set of listening ears. Like, it makes all the difference. So,
All right.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because you're right, there's always someone out there who cares. There's always somebody. It's not hopeless.
No. And in today's day and age, like even in the Beautiful You coaching app, if someone was to reach out to me and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, I would do everything I can to, okay, who do we talk to? How can we right? Like, I would make sure that they've got people in their corner to be there with them, even because I connect with people all over the world, and it's really exciting. But if I can't be there in the flesh, then we need to find somebody that can, and just support them and listen. And that's half the battle, is just having somebody listen, just hearing and understanding and having like that empathy of the struggle, because the struggle's real. And when you're in it, like we said earlier, like when you're in that storm, you don't see anything past the storm. You don't think that you'll ever get on the other side of it. But Aliyah can tell you that you can get on the other side of it. So
you can get on the other side and thrive. And
yes.
thrive.
So let's get into that journey of your story of how you then left your toxic relationship, lived in your car for a little while, which must have been traumatic with the baby at tow, and how you got the strength to be where you are today. Like, let's journey.
Yeah, so I lived in my car for about, I'm trying to think, maybe for 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not easy at all. It was not easy. And, I had a little bit of a savings. So, and I think my ex and I at the time had like joint custody. So, me and him were like contributing to daycare. So whenever my son was in daycare, because I didn't want him knowing, he was young. Thankfully, he does not remember this. He was like a baby. I didn't want him, being in the car with me all the time. So what I was doing, I was just doing a bunch of odd jobs. Like I was Ubering for a bit. I was doing deliveries. Like I was doing anything where I can be in my car just to make some money, so I can feed him and I can, get him clothes and all of that. And my ex, he didn't really know that I was living in my car. I didn't want to tell him that.
Well, it's a good thing, because he probably
Yeah.
would have made things a lot worse.
Exactly. And yeah, after about 6-7 months, I was able to get like a motel. I lived there for maybe 2 or 3 months, like just a cheap motel. And then after that, thankfully I had gotten a job, like a full-time job for the government, with health insurance and everything. So I was able to move to an apartment. So, I mean, things did get better, but it took almost a year for it to get better for me.
Yeah. So working your butt off, doing whatever you can, still like falling asleep in your car, wondering, is this it for me? Like that could have been so trying and deflating, and like, I don't, what kind of emotions were you battling during that season? What kind of feelings were you going through?
Literally, it was like you said, wow, I'm in my 30s. I'm a single mother, which I'm like, wow. And I have no job. I'm unemployed. I'm divorced. I can't believe this is my life. Like, that's literally what it was. This is my life. This is terrible. This is really, man, I'm trying not to curse, because when I remember those days, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, like, I just can't
Yeah,
believe.
you could drop some bombs, sister, because that's a crazy season of your life.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
why? How did I get here? Like all these thoughts just kept going in my head, but I
right.
had a baby that was relying on me. And you know how it is when you're a mom, sometimes you have to get out of your head. You just
Mm,
have to suck it up and you have to try to find solutions. And so that's what I did. Just
you
try to
were
find solutions.
resourceful. I
Yeah.
love it.
You have to be.
Yeah, I was a
Yeah.
single mom with my daughter for the first 6 years,
Mhm.
and I worked two jobs. Like I'd work a graveyard shift at a slaughterhouse, and then I started working administration, doing at a sales job. And then I didn't want to work graveyards anymore because it was becoming extremely exhausting. I get maybe 3-4 hours of sleep. And so I did the administration job during the day, and then I started delivering papers. So I get up at like 3 in the morning, I deliver papers, and I would take my daughter with me, and I deliver papers, and I come home, and then we take it a dig. Yeah, you do whatever you can. So when anybody's just sitting on the couch watching Netflix and they say, oh, this is my life for me, I can't make anything happen, you need to get out of your head, because if there's a will, there's a way, and you'll always be able to get out of it. You may have to bust your butt for a while, right? But there's always a way if there's a will.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You just have to take that first step and like I said, just work.
Yeah,
Be
grind
patient.
it. Yes, and have grace on yourself, because we're going to screw up when we're exhausted, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you got into an apartment, and in your job, and so um, where did that all lead to you? To here, to where you are today?
Well, it was a journey to get here, but I was suffering from these like health conditions since I was a child. I remember as young as 5, I was like, I'm in so much pain. Like my body hurts, I have so much fatigue. I couldn't focus in school. Like school was really, really difficult for me. And like I would go home a lot of times, I just go to sleep because like I didn't want to play with the kids. I didn't want to do anything like that. And so my mom had noticed at the time. And so she had taken me to so many doctors. And plus, I was, even as a kid, I was gaining weight and I was not eating like a ton. So
Right.
my mom took me to all these doctors. And of course, doctors, all they see is just weight. And so they just blamed it on my weight. And my mom's kind of intuitive. She's like, no, I think there's something else going on with her. Like her legs are swollen. She's gaining weight.
Oh,
She's young. My mom's like, there's something else going on.
yeah, we
And so
don't
when
feed her
all,
junk.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so when all the doctors literally, I remember she took me to so many doctors. All the doctors literally said the same thing. She just needs to be active. She needs to exercise. She needs to lose weight. So my mom believed it and my mom gave up, which I guess I don't blame her because like for years and years, she was taking me to doctors. And so what happened is with the stress of the divorce and unemployment and, not eating the healthiest at the time because when you don't
You
have
gotta eat
money,
cheap. Yep.
yeah, you don't eat very healthy. You just eat
No,
whatever's available that's cheap.
that's
Like
right.
my health really started to decline. And finally, I got diagnosed. Like it literally took about 30 years for me to get diagnosed, like from childhood to adulthood, with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid disease. I also finally got diagnosed with 2 lymphatic disorders. If anybody knows about the lymphatic system, it removes toxins from the body. And for us to remove those toxins, you got to move, you got to exercise, you got to sweat. Dry skin brushing is also good. So I was actually born with a faulty lymphatic system. It was actually genetic on my dad's side of the family. And
Okay.
I was actually the first one in my dad's side of the family, generations, to finally get diagnosed with the swelling conditions, lipedema and lymphedema, which are the lymphatic disorders, which causes the swelling in my legs and my arms. And when I was diagnosed with all of that 30 years later, I'll be honest with you, I was like, I don't care. YOLO, I'm just gonna eat. Screw this. This is stupid. Like, I just felt like I was really hopeless anyway. And that was really stupid because you don't do that. When you're diagnosed with health conditions, you need to make changes. And I did not for a while. So
Yeah, but that whole, all that news, all that 30 years of dealing with this condition and always thinking there was something wrong with you, and everybody just telling you that it's just your weight, just your weight.
mhm.
I would YOLO too, which is, if anybody doesn't know what YOLO is, it's like, you only live once, go for the chocolate cake. Right?
Yeah, so I did. I YOLO'd it out for a good 6 months. And finally I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. There's something, I need to do something. And that's when I went to alternative medicine. So I went to like functional medicine and like naturopaths and all of that. But that was limited too for me because they kind of have a fat bias too.
Mm,
It's not as bad as like the allopathic medicine, like the MDs and stuff, but it's still there, like
right.
the fat bias. And I just felt like all they focused on was just nutrition, changing my eating, my physical activity supplements, which is good. I'm not saying it wasn't good. It helped me a little bit,
Mhm.
but it wasn't the change that I needed. Like I needed something deeper and I knew something was missing. And at the time, I just didn't know what it was. I was like, something is missing. I can't identify it. And finally, one day I was at my naturopath's office and he had this book by Dr. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo. I don't know if you've ever,
No.
have you,
Who is the other again? Dr.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dispenza. Oh my God, his work is so good.
All right, I didn't look
I
that up.
love the man. He's like in my head, he's my husband, even though I know he's really married, but I pretend he's not, he's my husband in my head. I
Aw,
love him.
so good.
Yeah, and I saw that book. And so I remember taking a picture of it and I had asked my naturopath, I was like, what is this book? So then he started talking about the mind-body connection and about emotional healing and this and that. And then he was like, yeah, you do have a lot of like healing to do emotionally and mentally and all of this. But then he kind of brushed it off. And then he's like, well, we need to focus on your weight loss. And I was like, wait a minute. No, but that was good because I went home. I remember doing a bunch of research on like the mind, body, the soul, all of that. And that's when I discovered my coaching program, the Institute of Transformational Nutrition. And I was like, wow, there's actually like a coaching program that just doesn't focus on like eating right and exercising and everybody being so perfect and thin and this and that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like with coaching. Sometimes it's like everyone's so perfect and fit and perfect teeth and perfect hair and perfect bodies. And this coaching program was different.
Photoshopped.
Yes, it's photoshopped. You're right. And people show what they want to show on social media. So you're
Yeah,
right. And we got to keep that in mind. So
absolutely.
yeah, so I enrolled in that program and it was really life-changing for me, especially the whole mind, body, soul, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the childhood trauma. And I was like, this is making sense. Like all of this stuff was not addressed and it made sense to me. I had tried going to therapy, I think at that time, and all the therapists like judged me. Again, this is where weight came in. Oh, you're fat. Let's put you on antidepressants. It's going to suppress your appetite and it's going to help you lose weight. And I'm just like, I'm not going to get on antidepressants for that. That's stupid. I refuse.
Right.
And like, they all judged me. Like I went to, I think 5 or 6 different therapists. And, growing up as a Muslim and everything, they just didn't understand. And then the one Muslim therapist that I did get, she's like, she was like, well, you just have to accept it as is. Men, they're just polygamous. You're probably going to just have to be like another wife. And as long as he's got money, just let him do what he wants to do. Seriously?
Oh, so she's in a toxic relationship herself.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like to me. Wow.
Yeah. So I just gave up on therapy, which in hindsight, I should not have done that. I should have kept looking, for therapy that was right for me because I learned there's many different types of therapy. It's not just talk therapy, but there's like cognitive behavioral therapy, there's hypnosis. Like I should have, opened up my mind and looked more into that. So that would be my advice to anybody. If you hate your therapist, keep looking and look into
Yeah,
the different types of therapy. So that's
absolutely.
something I
There's
should have
lots
done.
of options for sure.
Yeah.
Good
So
advice.
yeah. And then I hired a life coach at the time when I was in my program. I was like, let me hire a coach. I think this will be so cool. So I hired a life coach and I hired a moon mom. I don't know. Have you heard of a moon mom, Stacey?
No, I have not.
Oh, so cool. A moon mom is an energy healer for women specifically. It's so cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
And she focuses a lot on like, our womb chakra and all of that. So
Okay, interesting. Well, I've had to do some inner child work, and just going through that process, it's literally like, um, just really getting in tight with where, where your trauma really started. Like, I know my naturopath, when I first started going to see her, I was dealing with some crazy anxieties and depression. And she's like, okay, so did you have a trauma between this age and this age? Yes. Did you have a trauma between this age and this age? Yes. She's like, better question. Do you remember a time when you didn't have trauma? I'm like, before conception, maybe. Like, I was a product of prostitution, born an addict, so trauma came from the very beginning, for me. And so that in itself, like through all the different traumas, through our brain developments, through all the different stages of our life, it causes a disconnect in our brain development, and it can really cause all this other havoc in our life. So when we can go back and just like, okay, heal these moments and get a deeper understanding. I'm not sure if this is what your moon mama does, but like I would understand that there's a lot of healing that comes when we can actually explore our past and really just find the healing from it. So,
yes,
yeah.
yes, and forgiveness, and the forgiveness. It's hard. The forgiveness is hard, but we got to forgive. You just got to let it go.
Yeah.
Even the ones who wronged you, you just got to let it go. Even if they continue to wrong you, just pray for them. That's what we got to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to be a punching bag by all means, or a doormat. Like, that's not what we're saying. Like, you can forgive and move on. And I know it's not easy, but with the right support and people in your corner, you can do it. If I can, anybody can. Trust me, I was bitter, bitter.
And you were born in trauma, literally, like in conception. You were literally born into it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom tried to get out of the industry. I have my older brother. He was there, and he said that when my mom tried to quit, they stuck a knife to her belly and basically said if she was to leave, they would kill her and her unborn child. So there was lots of trauma. So
Oh, your poor mom.
my mom went through it. She went through it. She had quite a journey.
May she rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Dancing with the king. That's how I picture it anyway, because she had such a horrific life here. Like, I know God has a special place in his heart for her. So.
For sure. 100%.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. So what brought you to Curvaceous?
What brought me to Curvaceous? So it was just a name that I think a friend had helped me come up with, because I just wanted something that was fun at the time. And at the time, I thought my niche would be like autoimmune disease, because I suffer with autoimmune issues myself. And I was like, she was like, well, curvaceous something something. She's like, you need curvaceous something something. And I don't know, I think I had a dream about it, curvaceous, fit, and fabulous. And I was like, I like that. So I remember calling the state of Texas the next day. I'm like, we're registering and trademarking that because no one's taking my name.
Love it. And I love your logo. It's so flattering. It's such a cute logo.
Yeah, I just wanted something different and something cute that people could resonate with.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you serve the women that you work with?
So I primarily work with plus size women, even though I have coached quite a few men as well. But my niche is plus size women, and I want her to realize that she is worthy despite her weight, and she is beautiful. And I want to help her get through the childhood trauma. I want to help her get through, because a lot of times we're emotionally eating, and it's not because we're hungry. It's literally we're hurting inside. A lot of the women that I've been coaching have been through sexual abuse. I went through sexual abuse myself. And so a lot of them are using their weight as a shield, because we didn't want to attract men. Like, I didn't want to attract men when I was younger. And so, yeah, at one point I did intentionally gain weight, because, I mean, you just feel so dirty. And a lot of times your family doesn't believe you when you went through that abuse. They literally just sweep it under the rug, and that's it. You're expected to just get over that. And
Right.
it's terrible. And so that's what I coach women on, like the sexual abuse, the trauma. A lot of us grew up in like super dysfunctional families, and the emotional eating. But with the emotional eating, I take a mind, body, soul approach to the emotional eating. And I take it step by step, because emotional eating is not an easy thing to overcome, but
No.
it's possible with the right tools, with the right supplements, with like the right, you know, help and addressing everything in your life. I help women overcome it.
Oh, that is such an empowering gift to give any woman that struggles with emotional eating, because it is a lot of mind work and working on the roots of where those emotions are coming from. There was a study that we did that was called the Daniel Plan. It was a 5-month study that we did last year. And they talk about some of these issues, and they say, just put a note on your refrigerator and ask yourself, what do you need? Do you need a hug? Are you in conflict? Do you need to resolve that conflict? Are you tired? Are you bored? Or are you hungry? Because a lot of the times we'll go to the refrigerator for multiple different reasons. Boredom, we're lonely, we're needy, like we need some physical contact, and or a hug, or be appreciated, or something like a recognition of some kind. And most mamas don't get that, because let's be true, like we're constantly dishing it out for everybody around us, and we have nothing but scraps at the end of the day. Yeah, so it's good just to ask those questions when you do go to the refrigerator, and not to say that it's bad. Like if you're hungry, eat, like, right? Like, food is not our enemy. It's our fuel. Like we need it to have energy to do what all the things that us super women do, right? So
You're right. You're right. But the way like a lot of plus size women have been conditioned to see the eating healthy and exercises, it was always used as a punishment for us.
right,
Like, yeah,
star.
it always was. Yes, it was always, okay, put us on these like restrictive diets. Like I remember when I was 8 or 9 and the doctor fat shamed me at the doctor's office, and my mom and sister putting me on, like, back in the 90s, like the Atkins diet and like the
Atkins
keto
diet.
diet. You remember those diets?
Yeah, now
Like
it's
the
called
cabbage
keto.
soup. Yeah, now it's keto, basically, yeah. But it's like
Yeah.
a little healthier, but, or the cabbage soup diet. And I'm like, why are you gonna put your kid on like
Oh,
these restrictive, stupid diets? Like, ew. And the cabbage soup was so gross.
yeah, and give you
Ah,
the farts. I've been there.
yes. And then like exercise was also, it was just because of weight loss. So I try to condition, well, not I try, I condition the woman to where it's like, not condition, I help them, I'm sorry, to where it's like, okay, well, healthy eating, let's, what is healthy eating to you? Well, we're not going to be on these like stupid restrictive diets. We're not even going to count calories. Let's just focus strictly on nutrition. Don't
Mhm.
even worry about weight loss. Like, I want you to fuel your body, because health is wealth. God gave you a body, that's your temple, and we need to take care of it. Think of it like that.
Preach, preach,
Yes.
sister. Love it.
Yes. And even with the exercise, okay, you don't have to go to all these like stupid boot camps or run or whatever. Do what you like to do. If you want to belly dance,
Yeah, you
If you
won't
want,
see me running unless someone's chasing me.
see, I hate running.
I hate it.
Yeah, find something that you like. Like, even if it's just a walk outside, just something, swim, something. You don't have to be in these
Damn.
like, yeah, dance, anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, helping them change their relationship from this is restriction and this is punishment to no, this is not a punishment. This is a reward for your
It's loving
body.
your body. Yeah. Love your body.
Exactly. And you don't have to focus on weight loss. If weight loss comes and you want to lose weight, wonderful. If it doesn't, you're just going to feel better physically. You're going to look better physically.
Yeah.
You're going to feel
And
better emotionally.
I have been on the whole roller coaster diets circuit a good chunk of the last 20 years of my life. But the more when I focus on the weight loss, the more it doesn't happen. But when I focus on the nutrition, just moving my body, even if it's just a little bit once or twice a week, and it doesn't even have to be crazy. Like I dance it out right now for 30 minutes. That's 5 songs on my Spotify playlist. And I'm busting out sweat like in places that I'm like, girl, you need a shower. But it's so good. Like, but just that little, when I'm focusing just on trying to like, okay, I just need to move my body once or twice this week. And you can add to it as you get comfortable with that, right? When I focus on just making sure that I'm feeding my body what makes me feel good, and being a scientist to know what those foods are, because when we get to a certain point, we're a little bit more in tune as to how our body's reacting to foods. So some foods, we might really like them, but our body might be telling us a different story. So being able to say like, okay, well, asparagus, it's a good, healthy food and I love it, but my body doesn't break it down very well. So even healthy foods may not be good for you. So understanding what your body's saying, and respecting that. And you could still have your chocolate cake, but just use moderation. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that.
And then you love the journey that you're in. And weight loss is a byproduct of it all. Like it's just going to happen naturally as your body's getting the right fuel and the right movements that you enjoy. I think we end up stressing ourselves out if we end up going to a class that we don't feel that we're going to, or we feel that we're going to be judged in, right? Let's all be real. Like, I'm sure we've all been in places where you go to the gym and you're even on the treadmill and you think like, everybody's watching me. Why are they watching me? They might not be, but for some reason my head will go there sometimes. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to the gym ever. Or you're like, they stole my favorite corner where I could hide from everybody. Like, I can't just stand here and wait for that person to get off the treadmill. This is my mind. Oh, this is where my head goes. But yeah, so just we can move in our kitchen, we can move in our wherever. We could do some squats when we're brushing our teeth, right? So
Yeah.
there's just little things, just little shifts that we can make. And I love that you're reaching people in that way and just unlocking their beauty and giving them, empowering them to be who they were created to be. I just love it.
Thank you. Yes, we're all curvaceous, fit, and fabulous. All of us.
I got me some curves. I got me some curves. Got some junk in my trunk. Yeah, so if anybody here in the Beautiful You community would want to reach out to you and connect and work with you, how would they go about doing that?
You can reach me on Instagram at Curvaceous Fit and Fabulous. It's all one word. Or on my Facebook at Aliyah, Aliyah, last name Hamad, Hammad. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to give my number? Or is the number going to be?
It's really up to you. If you want your phone number, people to be calling you, that's up to you. You can always, we can do email, your website. You got a beautiful website. I'll put that in the video and before we go live, and your Instagram handle, your Facebook handle, we'll put that all out there. Do you have a contact page on your website?
Not yet. That's because I am revamping my coaching practice, and website and content and everything. So in the next couple of weeks, my packages, everything is going to be completely different. So
well, by this video will be a couple of weeks down the path. We're pre-recording, so
okay. Oh yeah, that's true.
So that'll be good. So you'll have a contact page on your website by that point.
I should by then, yeah.
Yeah, don't change your logo. It's super awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I like those kinds of things though. If you haven't noticed in my app, I'm like very, I'm all over the place.
I love your app and I love your website. It's so cute.
Aw, thank you. My heart behind it was that I get frustrated with the filters and all the look at me. I don't want people to be looking at me or get or like, yeah, I want them to feel that it's fun and loving and welcoming. And I don't think that I could portray that as easily with my mug all over the place. So I wanted to bring the childlikeness out. And yeah.
You did a good job. Cause yeah, you feel like so just, I felt really good when I was on your side and on your app. I was like, oh, it was kind of childlike. It was a good place.
Yay.
Yeah.
So that's really great feedback for my heart, because you never really know how people receive it on the other side, because we always have these grand ideas, and then you're like, what were you thinking? So it's good. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that very much. So ladies, we are going to have to cut it short, or cut it. We have had a fabulous journey down Aliyah's path to where she is today, where she's serving the plus size woman and men. I'm drawn more to the woman's side, but she does work with men. So if they happen to catch this video, listening to their wives over their shoulders in the app here, because no boys allowed in my app. Just kidding. And you can reach out to her on her website. We'll throw the handle down here on Facebook, on Instagram. And do you have any specific offers that you would like to share with the community today? Like, do they get a free consultation or any of that kind of stuff?
Yes. So yeah, if they do decide to contact me, yes, I do give 3 free 30-minute consultations.
3? That's super generous.
Yeah.
Well, look
Free
at
30. Free 30 minutes. Oh my goodness, I can't say that word. Free 30-minute consultation.
Yeah, say it real fast now. Oh, yeah. I know. Sometimes my tongue don't. I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, I don't think I could ever learn a second language because my tongue has a hard enough time with mine. English is hard. It
is a hard language. It really is.
It truly is. That's why I got to that.
It is hard because sometimes some words don't make sense.
Right? Right.
Like, or spelling it out like lasagna. How come there's a G like in lasagna? I don't get it.
No, me neither. Or they, and they. Can we just say they?
They, that's it. Just one day, that's it.
Yeah, that's all we need. Well, this has been awesome. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just allowing us to see how God has really truly moved in your life and how you are now empowering and impacting women through understanding and compassion and empathy of your own personal journey. You can actually reach the women that are struggling or in that space and empower them with the tools and resources and an amazing energy. I just love your energy, and your smile is just so contagious. I don't think anybody could come into a room with you and never be in a bad mood. I don't think that's possible. So like, it's good. It is so good. I am so blessed to have met you and that we've had this opportunity to connect on this deeper level. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Stacey, for having me. I'm really super grateful that we connected as well. And I love your app. I love your app. I'm going to tell everybody to download it because it's an awesome app. I've been telling some people here in Houston to download your app. They were really excited that it has like a Christian perspective to it.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, I think you should have some downloads here in Houston. So
thank you.
It's a wonderful app. Well,
make sure you use your referral. There's a referral link that you should get so that you can get some credit if anybody comes in and wants to purchase any vision board workshops or any of my coaching stuff that's coming down the pipe. So I want to make sure that's for that. Thank you for sharing though. I really appreciate
it's a great app. Even though I'm not a Christian myself, like I resonate a lot with like what you're doing and what you're teaching. Like I love it. I think it could literally, like any belief system can literally like benefit from it. That's what I believe.
Yeah, well, as long as they're feeling loved and accepted, heard and seen, that's my heart. So, and I'm glad that you're finding it a useful tool in your arsenal.
Yes, so. I love it. Thank you so much for creating it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story in this community. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Stacey.